keep everything, but we can just start
It's fine.
the process and it will get a little less awkward.
Okay.
So Charlotte and Heather, tell us a little bit about yourself, the type of business that you do, and who you help.
Yep. Yeah, man. So I'm a PT, right? And basically what I do, PT, not personal trainer, but physical therapist, right? Teach people all around the world, man, with back, butt, sciatica type pain, sort of a niche or interest of mine, if you will. Specialize in that area and basically want to teach people how to resolve their pain naturally, number one. So no pills, shot surgery, things like that. But then also like how to fix themselves, right? So much of medicine is relying upon people going to someone and having them fix them, tell them what to do versus teaching them what to do. So the goal is to put people in control in the driver's seat of their own health as it relates to kind of dealing with those troubles.
So, and we've transitioned to fully online. Everything's virtual, and we teach people through like an online course and some group coaching. So very unique model in the healthcare space, especially in the PT realm.
Yeah, man. So we work with people all around the world.
Yeah, it's cool.
Neat stuff.
That's awesome. And for the people who are in healthcare listening to this, does it work? And do you have testimonials?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude. We have lots of testimonials. In fact, I would say that I used to be good at fixing people, meaning like taught a lot of manual therapy, like hands-on treatment strategies. I was good at fixing people in the moment, but people are really bad at fixing themselves. So if you can give people like the tools, knowledge, and understanding, then obviously, yeah, the mentorship and support to teach people and give people what they need. It's their pain, man.
Yeah.
And so they're going to know better than you what they're feeling. And so if you can teach them that and empower them with those things, they do really, really well, dude. So we have hundreds of people, man, and hundreds of testimonials from people.
Lots of amazing transformations that we see. And we just feel so grateful to get to like work with all these people who have not seen success elsewhere. And then they're able to have such crazy, awesome transformations after chronic pain, you know, being able to work with us and get to the other side. So
without ever touching them, dude.
Yeah. So it's cool.
Love to hear it all. I'm going to send this to all the PTs I have in my network.
Yeah, there we go.
Great. So as it relates to appointment setting, getting more calls on the calendar, getting more from your marketing and your leads, what was the problem you had prior to us working together?
Yeah. So I was just, I was at a point, man, where you can only do so much, right? So you're wearing a lot of different hats.
Very small team.
Yeah, very small team. You know, I obviously started just Heather and I, right? Then we brought on closer, right? So we outsourced some of that, but then obviously that gets filled up as you're trying to do more marketing, where you bring in more leads, and then you need to have more conversations, which takes away from your ability to market, right? And so a constant just, stuck on this thing 24 hours a day, responding to messages on multiple platforms, on Instagram, Facebook. We actually started a Facebook group because our main driver of business is YouTube. But the downfall, the upside is that it's a search engine, right? And you're catching people who are pretty warm and like, hey, I need to solve this problem.
Looking for solutions.
But the downside is that it's not a very conversational platform. So unlike if someone follows you on Instagram where you can just reach out and message them and be like, hey, thanks for the follow. What inspired you to connect, right? You can't do that really on YouTube. And so it's a little bit less, less leveraged or relational. So we wanted a more relational platform. We had tested multiple different things, but we honestly couldn't test them to full capacity. So I started a Facebook group, right? And I was like, hey, cool, makes sense. Let me drive, like 50 people there. And then like Heather and I are looking at each other like, it's Saturday, right? And we got 50 people to actually touch base with, and we're not following up with them. We're not reaching out to them. Yeah. We have all these leads, these phone calls, followers, this, that, who are reaching out, and they're just, if you will, the fortunes in the follow-up, right? And I kind of knew that intellectually, but just did not have the capacity to actually like live life and also handle all that the leads could offer. We just couldn't leverage the leads.
We had basically offloaded him from doing sales calls. We had hired a closer. That was kind of like one of our first moves. We brought on a client success person initially part-time. Then we hired a closer, got him off of doing sales calls. But then the very next step was the fact that, okay, we needed to be able to fill the closer schedule. And so he then became appointment setting on top of trying to do the marketing and all the other things. And
because you're busting your butt, putting out all this good stuff.
Yeah.
And then like, there's this empty hole in you thinking like, well, it's great. Like they want to come in and they want my help, but like, I'm not following up with them like they should. So there were just like a lot of holes in the bucket. It was like a leaky system, right? And so an appointment center, I just wanted to make sure everyone was taken care of and like really, we were following up with people the way that we knew we should be.
Yeah.
Right. And then you've done get help to try to hire an appointment setter somewhere else, right? Like, tell me a little bit about that experience.
Yeah. So he lasted a week, I think, maybe a few days.
Yeah.
We actually hired someone
internationally.
Internationally. The business model is unique. I'll say that up front. So that was a challenge for us. Like, there's lots of big words like spondylolisthesis, that freak people out, and because it's not a B2B thing.
Medical terms, healthcare terms,
insurance.
A lot of the appointment setters out there are used to the B2B conversation, and you can kind of rinse and repeat. And when it came to conversations that we're having with people in pain who might be like my grandma down the street type of thing, it's just not the same type of conversation flow. And it's having the knowledge of the healthcare system a bit and a little bit of knowledge around at least some medical terms and not being scared by it, you know what I mean? And how to navigate that conversation made it really challenging with the last appointment setter that it did not work. There was a really big gap there between what knowledge he had and experience he had to like where we were, especially with just healthcare knowledge and kind of how to talk to people in pain. It's just when people are in pain, they go insane, and it's already, they're emotionally all over the place. And so you really have to like meet them where they're at and like help guide them. And it's a little bit different than just a B2B conversation. So when you're B2C, it changes a little bit. And so, we had tried an appointment setter in the past. Did not work out very well. A lot of time
good practice.
A lot of practice. Yeah, good practice. A lot of time to try and onboard him, and then like did not last more than a couple of days. And then we were kind of like, okay, we're just gonna do it ourselves,
Yeah. So she was training this guy for like 3 hours a day,
3
or more.
4 hours a day. I was on with him
for the week he was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
It was not good.
So one of the things you said when we started working together right before was, I'm gonna let you say it, but like, why did you decided, hey, we probably should work with Win on this for the next part?
Yeah, for us, we wanted to like pay for speed. We were at a point where we were like drowning. There were people reaching out to us from all over the place. We couldn't keep up. It was, he was like really kind of worn out, burnt out from trying to keep up with all these different places. I couldn't get his attention when we're supposed to, like in the evening, be parents, to our daughter. He was like constantly on his phone, doing this, doing that. And it was like,
I was hammering, I was getting it done. I was a true entrepreneur,
and time kills deals. So he's like, they just reached out. Like, I got to get back to them. And I'm like, okay, like we need a fix for this, and we need it fast, and we need something that can like help us expedite this. And so the paying for speed was the main thing of like, I knew if we were going to try to hire someone and bring someone in, like, I could do it and I could do it myself, but like to build it all from scratch, it was just time. And like, we didn't want to deal with the time of trying to recreate it on our own. I'm like, let's pay for speed and let's work with someone who's done this and can just help us get it going faster. And so,
And I would say too, when, I knew I was the bottleneck. So you get to a certain point where you realize like, okay, I'm hustling. And then you're like, I'm going to die. Meaning like, that which got me to 50, 60, whatever thousand a month, right, isn't going to get me to 160 a month or whatever, isn't going to allow me to become someone growth wise, right? Because I'm not going to have the time, I'm not going to have the energy, and I'm just going to be cooked. So I realized pretty quickly, and we realized that, hey, this is a bottleneck and it needs to be fixed. And while I pride myself in being able to like work really hard, right? It's only so sustainable. So it wasn't sustainable, and we knew that we needed some help. And like to Heather's point, if we had someone who could get us there faster, we talked about this. I looked at Heather, I said, hey, we might be able to do this, right? We tried hiring before. We had some basic SOPs and some docs, right, to try to figure this out. And we could have tried that, but dude, it wouldn't have made sense to try to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
So talking about speed, how long did it take us to find your setter in place?
Yeah, well, within the first month.
Even probably quicker.
Within a month. We set out we created like the whole funnel of trying to recruit somebody. We had the process set up for interviewing. We had all that stuff was there out. We distributed it. We had interviews come in. We did the interviews. And by the end of the first month, we had someone that we were giving an offer to and getting in place. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you were with us like every step of the way too. So that
Yeah.
was really helpful as far as sitting in on the interviews, running portions of the interviews, and then eventually kind of just like holding our hand, but then passing it along to us and saying, okay, like just passing the torch. And then we started to do some on our own. And that was useful too, because then we just, as you were going through that process, as an entrepreneur and somebody who like is self-sufficient and pretty like self-directed, I'm always asking myself, like, how is it that Win thinks more than what he's doing? Like why did he do that? Right? Like, oh, that was an interesting question. So just seeing the way that you like interact and observing how you interact during that like interview, you know, kind of process, and the whole like onboarding process, I think was helpful for me and useful for me, because I pulled out some nuggets that were more soft. You know, not like, oh, this is exactly what you do, but like, oh, this is the way you act. This is the way you interact. And so I think that was really helpful. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Yep. So I know we're still working. It's like, hey, you thought you fixed this problem and the business is going to be, you know, you were going to be selling to the sunset, right? Obviously, we are off to fixing other problems now. But if you could highlight 1, 2, maybe 3 key, I guess, results or numbers or metrics of what we've done together for the last few months here.
Yeah. So our appointment center, right, in the month of November. I think we started working with you in maybe September.
We hired
maybe October. I don't remember.
No. We started with Win in September, and then the start date for our new appointment center was October the 9th. So just, you know, he had to give 2 weeks notice to his job. So he started October the 9th. So October wasn't a full month, a lot of training in there. November was his first full month of actually like in the role, doing it, moving and grooving.
Yep. And he brought in 21K in revenue, which is really cool, because we didn't, you know, that would have been something I would have had to drive. And, you know, he's had a day where he set 5 or 6 calls. You know, and so he's hitting KPIs already, which is really cool. In fact, we're wondering if we paid him too much, right? Because he's up to speed faster than we thought. But, you know, I think also it's peace of mind. Like, I feel really comfortable with him doing what he's doing. And I think that was a valuable part, obviously, of the selection. So in the beginning, I remember when I had like the first person apply, like the pain in me of being like where I was, right? I was just like, I don't even care. Just anybody just do it. But I'm glad that we went through the process of like interviewing, and I see the value in not just jumping at the first candidate and making sure it's a really good fit. Because looking back, I'm like, I don't think that person would have worked out that well. Right. And so,
candidate that we maybe would have thought would have been good. Win kind of like would raise the flag and be like, here's what I'm seeing. And we're like, oh, I'm like, now looking back, like, thank God we did not hire him. So that was good.
Yeah. So there's peace of mind, man, in knowing that he's crushing it when he's, you know, acting like me, if you will, in the Facebook group, when he's calling people. We have processes in place, and you've helped us with that as far as like, you know, in a Facebook group, for example, as one of the lead sources. Also, he's responding to emails, making phone calls, shooting texts. I mean, he's pretty versatile too. And so it's just nice to know when I wake up and I see somebody, right, who's called me, I'm just like, okay, Tom's got that. Like, I could call them. Sometimes I still do.
Sometimes I say to Charlie, like, no, don't.
I set one the other day. All right, got to stay in it.
I'm like, leave it for Tom, will you?
But he's doing a great job, and you know, he's also been very solution oriented. So that was something I know we were looking for. Instead of just bringing all the problems to me, he's like, hey man, I came with this idea. Just the other day, he's like, hey, I wanted to be able to chat with this guy, but he wasn't in the group. So I sent him an invite. I got in the group. Then I asked him these questions. And so we're just problem solving together. And that's been something really valuable. So yeah, he's crushing, man. He's a very good fit. And in fact, so much so that we plan to actually move him into a more leveraged role, which would be like a closer, more kind of permanent sales role.
Yeah. Which in my mind, like when we first started this process, I never would have imagined being like the appointment setter we hired, transitioning him this quickly into a closer role. So really cool to see the potential there for that. But yeah, I mean, he's up hitting his KPIs quick, which was really cool.
Awesome. Where do you think you would be right now if we didn't take action and like started working on this process with me together?
Well, I'd probably be dead.
I'd still
I
be
mean, I
trying
wouldn't be
to
dead, but
You'll be all right, Charlie.
I'd still be trying to write up. I mean, between the screening interview process and then like like trying to manage all that and create all of the like the cohesion around that, I think I would still be in the interviewing stage. I don't think I would have, this quickly. Like, holy smokes! Like the speed of it, almost like it's certain times I was almost like, oh, are we moving too fast? Like how quickly we had interviews going and like we were running through them and you were screening some and then we were doing like, I mean, like the speed was there for that. So like, I would still be back at the recruiting and interviewing stage, I think, if we hadn't.
Yeah. Having the process, man, just laid out, kind of like follow the yellow brick road, do this, do that. Right. And also like keeping us accountable to it. Right. I can't tell you how many times we're like, maybe it's just a bad idea. Maybe we don't even know if this will work, right? I mean, this is, in all fairness, we've failed our first appointment setter hire.
So there was fear that it was like, is this really the right move?
You don't want to lose, and then it's like, okay, whatever, the money. I mean, if I'm not alive, the money ain't gonna matter anyway. So the money wasn't so much it, but obviously there's a bit of a risk when you spend all that time and energy. People, my brand, if you will, and sort of like what I stand for is very strong to me, especially in this space, my reputation. So it's like, I got to be able to trust someone to go in there and act like me and respond like me. And he's just like, he's totally crushed it. And so had you not kind of been on board with us, or we been on board with you, I could have seen us maybe like backing out or thinking like, okay, maybe this just isn't up for us right now, and just not even giving it a go. And so unfortunately, sometimes you don't know the result of something until you try it. You have lots of thoughts around something. And so this was something, as weird as it sounds, it's like, it totally makes sense that we need it, but do we really need it?
There's still ups and downs in there, and you have to like push through that part.
And now that we've done it, it's like literally, I said to Heather the other day, I'm like, I don't know how we lived without an appointment center before. Like I was doing all this stuff and I was like getting all these people reach out to us, and gosh, like we just weren't capitalizing probably on so much. You know what I mean? So it's been really helpful, and we probably would have been pretty stuck without you. So.
Love to hear it. So if there's anyone watching this who might be on the fence about like booking a call or working with us, what would you say to them?
Do it.
Just do it.
Well, you need help. I mean, nobody reaches out to me, right? If they're like, oh, I got this all figured out. Even though they try to weasel their way at the close, and they try to say, oh, no, I think I can figure this out. It's like, hey, would you really have reached out to me if you were 100% confident in solving this? Absolutely not. Right. And so let's just do this. Are we going to do this or are we not? Right. And so that's what I'd say. It's just like, if you're reaching out to win, there's probably some interest there. There's probably a sticking point. And if you can pay for speed and expedite the process, you're not only going to get like a return as far as the revenue and all the metrics that you're looking for. Right. But just
having someone in your court too that can bounce through the ideas, and as questions come up, I mean, we're still having questions about like, oh, like now this is happening. Like, what should we be adjusting with the comp structure, or how does this work? Or like this case came up, like, and having someone there to work through some of that, especially at a point where you're starting to have an appointment setting team or you're starting to build a small sales team. Like there's so many questions and nuances that come up that you don't really know. You don't know until you get there, and having someone that you can lean on and reach out to. And I mean, Wynn's amazing at, being able to chime in, send video messages, audio messages, like, here's what I'm thinking. I was thinking about you guys. What about this? Is so valuable to just work through all of that and to have someone on your side to do it. So I'd say do it.
It's been super valuable, man. It's given me a lot of peace of mind too, just knowing that my peeps are taken care of. And as somebody who drives a lot of the marketing, right, making sure people are taken care of from a personnel standpoint, and then knowing that all my marketing efforts aren't going to waste, because there's a lot of people right on the back end who are not being followed up with and who are not being taken care of. So that bothered me. It don't bother me anymore. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Wynn.
Yeah.
You guys crushed it. I think this works so well because you actually care about your people, and whether that's a setter or a closer, you genuinely want to take care of them. And that's what we found, your right person, but they're going to stay because of your genuine desire to treat them as a human being and not just a machine that can just book meetings and never take days off and things like that. So I think I was I'm glad and I'm honored to be a part of it, but you did most of the hard work of taking care of this person. So great job all around. So, and thank you for doing this. So
Yeah,
dude.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank
great.
you, Win.
Thanks, man.
Awesome.